From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.
Good day, I am Win Peñano bringing you today's edition of Dateline Malacañang. Here are top Malacañang stories. President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has ordered law enforcement agencies to conduct a thorough investigation into the shooting at Ateneo de Zamboanga University that left 2 people dead. In a statement, President Marcos expressed condolences to the victims' families and the university community, saying schools should be among the safest places in the country. He directed authorities to determine what additional measures are needed to prevent similar incidents and ordered the government to work with schools and communities to strengthen safeguards for students. The university said students who remained on campus were secured by school personnel, while parents and guardians were contacted to fetch their children. Ateneo de Zamboanga University is coordinating with authorities in the investigation and appealed for privacy for those affected.
Dateline Malacañang.
In related news, the Department of Education or DepEd is urging the public to exercise greater responsibility in sharing sensitive content related to the shooting at Ateneo de Zamboanga University in Zamboanga City. The DepEd appealed to media practitioners, vloggers, content creators, and the public to refrain from posting or sharing videos and photos showing the incident or its aftermath. The agency said amplifying such material could worsen the distress experienced by affected learners, school personnel, and their families. Education Secretary Sani Angara also urged the public to respect the privacy and dignity of the grieving families and the school community. The DepEd earlier vowed to provide psychological first aid and psychosocial support to affected learners, personnel, and families. It also appealed against spreading unverified information while the investigation continues.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Department of Health or DOH has deployed mental health and psychosocial support services teams following the shooting incident at the Ateneo de Zamboanga University Junior High School campus in Zamboanga City. Health Secretary Edwin Mercado ordered the immediate deployment of healthcare professionals to assist students, school personnel, and others affected by the tragedy. The DOH said the teams will provide psychological and psychosocial support to help those involved process the incident and begin their recovery. The agency also said it is ready to assist with medical expenses. The shooting reportedly left 2 students dead, including the suspected gunman, while other students were evacuated to safety. The DOH said it will provide further updates and once information from authorities on the ground is verified.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Council for the Welfare of Children or CWC is urging the public and media to prioritize the safety, privacy, and protection of children following the shooting at Ateneo de Zamboanga University in Zamboanga City. CWC Executive Director Undersecretary Angelo Tapales warned that spreading unverified reports, graphic materials, live streams, and other sensitive content could cause additional trauma and compromise ongoing investigations. investigations. He reminded media workers and content creators to follow guidelines on reporting incidents involving children, stressing that the speed of posting should never come before child protection. The CWC said every child, whether a victim, witness, or a child in conflict with the law, remains entitled to privacy, dignity, security, and protection. The agency is coordinating with concerned authorities to keep child welfare at the center of the response.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Bureau of Customs or BOC has temporarily relieved its Enforcement and Security Services District Commander in Zamboanga, who is the father of the student involved in Tuesday's shooting at Ateneo de Zamboanga University. BOC Commissioner Ariel Nepomuceno said Lieutenant Lars Halani is not being accused of involvement in the incident, but the relief order is necessary to ensure an impartial investigation into whether there was negligence in the handling and possession of the firearm. Nepomuceno said the BOC is still verifying whether the firearm used was issued by the agency. He also ordered an inventory of all firearms issued to personnel and a thorough review of the BOC's firearm issuance system, including safety and psychological screening requirements. Meanwhile, the Philippine Ports Authority clarified that the official identified in reports is not a PPA employee or port police officer, but is associated with the Bureau of Customs.
Dateline Malacañang.
In our news, the Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD says it has provided 717.4 million pesos in humanitarian assistance to families affected by the southwest monsoon or habagat and tropical cyclones Luis and Maymay. In a palace briefing, DSWD Secretary Rex Gatchalian said more than 1 million family food packs along with ready-to-eat meals and non-food items have been distributed. The agency also provided 2.2 million pesos in financial assistance through its Assistance to Individuals in Crisis Situations or AICS program. Gatchalian said the relief effort is being treated as one continuous operation.
Treating it as a continuous relief operations, ongoing concern siya. Kaya yung report namin picks up from hindi siya separate reports na kung they were treating it as continuous na weather disturbance dahil hindi naman humupa for almost close to 1 month now.
As of Tuesday, more than 1.5 million families have been affected across 4,500 barangays. The DSWD says nearly 2,000 houses were damaged, while hundreds of evacuation centers remain operational nationwide.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Department of Social Welfare and Development, or DSWD, is assuring the public that sufficient food supplies are available in its warehouses nationwide as the government continues relief operations amid the southwest monsoon or habagat. In a palace press briefing, DSWD Secretary Rex Gatchalian said the agency has intensified aid distribution in areas affected by heavy rains and flooding following President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr.'s directive.
Hindi dapat mag-alala ng ating mga kababayan, may sapat na pagkain na nakaimbak sa mga bodega ng DSWD nationwide. This number will continue to grow, so kung wag naman, kung ano pang darating, ready naman ho ang inyong pamahalaan.
Gatchalian said relief operations have continued for nearly a month following successive weather disturbances. As of August 18, the DSWD has released more than 1 million family food packs and over 12,700 non-food items nationwide.
Nag-release na rin tayo ng 12,740,000 na non-food items. These are the other kits. Yan yung mga kitchen kit, sleeping kits, hygiene kit, family clothing kit. Total cost of humanitarian aid is at close to 717 million already.
The DSWD says it continues to monitor the distribution of assistance and augment the resources of local government units.
Dateline Malacañang.
Malacañang is assuring the public that adequate supplies of medicines are available to treat flood-related illnesses amid continued rains and flooding caused by the southwest monsoon or habagat. At a palace briefing, Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary and Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the Department of Health has assured sufficient medicines, particularly for leptospirosis, a bacterial infection that can be contracted through exposure to floodwater contaminated with rat urine. Castro urged those experiencing symptoms of flood-related illnesses to seek medical attention immediately. She also asked the public and local authorities to report any medicine shortages to the DOH or the PCO so the government can respond promptly.
Kahapon po nabigyan tayo ng impormasyon na sapat naman po ang mga gamot para dito at kailangan lang po sila na magbigay ng impormasyon or kanilang let's say katanungan kung sila ay biktima ng ganitong klaseng or nagsasuffer ng ganitong klaseng karamdaman at kung wala mang supply ay ipaabot lamang agad sa amin sa PCO, DOH para po matugunan agad kung iniisip po nila na sa kanilang lugar ay may kakulangan ng mga kailangang gamot para sa mga ganitong mga illnesses na related sa pagbabaha at pag-uulan.
Also says the effects of the habagat are expected to persist over Luzon and Western Visayas in the coming days.
Dateline Malacañang.
Recent heavy rains have replenished water reserves in major dams and helped sustain irrigation in rice-producing areas, according to the National Irrigation Administration or NIA. At a palace briefing, Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary and Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the rains have provided additional water for irrigation despite flooding in some areas.
Sa pangkalahatan, naging kapaki-pakinabang sa sektor ng irigasyon at agrikultura ang mga pag-ulan dahil nakatutulong ang mga ito sa muling pagpuno ng ating mga dam at reservoir.
Castro said water stored in Magat Dam is enough to irrigate about 90,000 hectares, while Pantabangan Dam can support around 100,000 hectares. The NIA also said the additional water is helping crops in Isabela and Cagayan recover from the effects of El Nino. Castro said the water accumulated in the two dams is equivalent to about 950,000 metric tons of palay production, valued at around 25 billion pesos.
Sa nakabawi din po yung mga pananim na inabutan ng El Nino kagaya ng mga nasa Isabela at Cagayan. Kaya pangkalahatan ay kapaki-pakinabang po sa NAIA at sa irrigated areas natin ang pag-ulan. Yung dalawang dam pa lang po ay katumbas na sa 950,000 metric ton or MT na palay production or nagkakahalaga ng 25 billion pesos.
NIA continues to monitor water levels, irrigation facilities, and farmlands affected by flooding.
Dateline Malacañang.
The government is ramping up flood control efforts in Metro Manila as record rainfall continues to affect several areas. At a palace briefing, Public Works Secretary Vince Dizon said the government has restored 6 pumping stations in Navotas, closed gaps in existing dikes, and repaired a navigational gate. He cited these interventions as a model for other flood-prone communities.
So yung tatlong bagay na yon prove na epektibo yung naging resulta, no, nung pagsasaayos ng mga pumping station, nung pagsasarado ng mga gap at pagpapagawa ng navigational gate.
Said the government plans to replicate the Navotas model in other flood-prone areas, including Bulacan. Meanwhile, 2 mobile pumps from the Department of Public Works and Highways and Metropolitan Manila Development Authority will be deployed to address flooding along the San Juan River. The government will also continue dredging and clearing operations and is studying the construction of detention basins upstream to temporarily hold excess floodwater. Dizon said water levels in the San Juan River have already dropped by nearly half following the recent flooding. The Office of Civil Defense and other agencies are coordinating with local governments while search and rescue teams remain on standby.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH, is planning to build detention basins in Quezon City to help minimize flooding in Metro Manila. At a palace briefing, DPWH Secretary Vince Dizon said the agency is coordinating with the Quezon City government on a possible site in Barangay Kaingin Bukid, upstream of the San Juan River.
Ang logic doon is, bago pa tumapon ang tubig baha sa San Juan River, iipunin muna natin, iimbakin muna natin sa mga itatayo nating detention basin. And meron kaming tinitignan na area sa may barangay Kaingin Bukid, no, sa may upstream ng San Juan River. No, na hopefully pag yon natayo natin, bago pa bumaba at tumapon ang tubig baha sa San Juan River, sasaluhin muna natin doon temporarily. No, and then pag bumaba na ang San Juan River, doon tayo magdi-discharge into the San Juan River.
Dizon said the project is included in the 2027 national budget with construction eyed to start this year and continue into next year. He said the biggest challenge is finding sustainable or suitable sites and securing right-of-way in densely populated Metro Manila. Dizon also stressed the need for a holistic approach to the country's flooding problem, but said President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has ordered faster action.
Yung holistic solutions kasi, they take time. No? There are no overnight solutions to this problem that, I mean, we've been experiencing floods for decades. No? And this is not a problem that can be fixed overnight, but ang directive ng Pangulo, bilisan ang pag-aksyon para ma-address na natin to.
Assured that all flood control projects are now being coordinated with local governments and aligned with their master plans.
Dateline Malacañang.
President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. has ordered government agencies to ensure a swift response and prioritize the safety of residents as heavy rains triggered widespread flooding in Metro Manila. At a palace briefing, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the President directed agencies to ensure immediate assistance reaches communities affected by the floods.
Utos ng Pangulo sa lahat ng ahensya na iprioridad ang kaligtasan ng mga residente at siguruhing maaabot ng tulong ang mga nasalanta ng baha.
Office of Civil Defense has activated response agencies while search and rescue teams remain on standby. The government has also ordered free rides in Metro Manila as relief, clearing, and medical operations continue. Pag-asa recorded 201.7 millimeters of rain at its Science Garden station in Quezon City from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Monday. Of that amount, 138.7 millimeters fell in just 2 hours, equivalent to about 7 days of average August rainfall in the area. Meanwhile, Castro said the ongoing Pasig-Marikina River Channel Improvement Project helped prevent the Marikina River from overflowing.
Dahil sa proyektong ito, hindi umapaw ang ilog at naprotektahan ang mga residente ng Marikina at Pasig City mula sa matinding baha, lalo na't ilang linggo nang walang tigil ang malakas na pag-ulan.
The project is 53% complete and includes floodgates, pumping stations, and other structures aimed at reducing flooding in the Pasig-Marikina River Basin.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Department of Education or DepEd is eyeing a more granular school-level resumption of classes to prevent learning loss amid weather-related disruptions. In a statement, DepEd Secretary Sani Angara said the agency can no longer rely on blanket class suspensions, especially when individual schools remain safe and ready to conduct classes. The DepEd is proposing revisions to Executive Order 66, which governs class suspensions during disasters. Under the proposed rules, schools that are safe, accessible, and have recovered from emergencies may resume in-person classes subject to a documented safety assessment and concurrence from local government officials. The proposal would also cover hazards such as extreme heat, earthquakes, power outages, and poor air quality. DepEd expressed hope that President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. will approve the measure before the end of the year.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Department of Environment and Natural Resources or DNR in the National Capital Region has removed around 1,255 sacks of mixed solid waste from 27 cleanup sites following heavy rains and flooding on Monday. The DNR-NCR said its Estero Rangers, River Warriors, and partner groups cleared clogged waterways and coastal areas to help floodwaters subside. Its network of 196 trash traps also intercepted floating garbage before it could move downstream and worsen blockages. Environment Secretary Juan Miguel Cuna said the clearing operations helped reduce the risk of further flooding, but stressed that proper waste management remains the long-term solution. He urged residents and establishments to keep garbage in designated areas and avoid sweeping or washing waste into drainage systems. The DNR-NCR also called for strict compliance with the Ecological Solid Waste Management Act.
Dateline Malacañang.
In other news, the Department of Agriculture or DA is constructing 7 cold storage facilities in the Cordillera Administrative Region to help prevent crop and vegetable wastage, particularly during the rainy season. At a palace briefing, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the facilities will help store perishable farm produce when bad weather disrupts transportation and trading.
Each cold storage is a 40-foot container. So marami itong matatago tuwing tag-ulan, kagaya nito.
DA said landslides have prevented traders and buyers from reaching trading posts, affecting the movement of vegetables. Castro said the DA regional office has also helped transport vegetables from Benguet to markets in Pampanga, Manila, and Cavite. About 1.2 million pesos worth of vegetables were sold over the past week, while the DA continues to monitor trading posts and assist farmers. For the long term, the DA is proposing a vegetable processing facility in La Trinidad, Benguet under the 2027 budget.
In the long term, for 2027 budget, meron silang proposal for vegetable processing facility in a 1.5 hectare property located in La Trinidad, na kung saan makakapagproseso ng mga gulay at makakapagbigay ng higher value and longer shelf life ng mga gulay. So yan po ang proposal nila.
The facility is expected to help increase the value of farm products and extend their shelf life, reducing losses among farmers.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Department of Social Welfare and Development or DSWD says the decline in self-rated food poverty nationwide indicates that more Filipino families are able to meet their food needs. Based on a social weather station survey, self-rated food poverty fell to 36% in June from 42% in March. The number of food poor families also declined to 10.2 million from 11.7 million during the same period. DSWD spokesperson Assistant Secretary Irene Dumlao said the figures show that the government's anti-hunger programs are moving in the right direction while stressing the need to sustain and strengthen these efforts. A separate SWS survey among beneficiaries of the Walang Gutom program also showed a decline in self-rated food poverty from 79% to 77.6%. The program currently serves 600,000 food-poor households nationwide, providing beneficiaries with electronic cards loaded with 3,000 pesos in monthly food credits for nutritious food.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Bureau of Customs or BOC and the National Bureau of Investigation or NBI have strengthened their partnership against smuggling following the directive of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. The intensified operations resulted in the seizure of more than 3 billion pesos worth of illegally shipped cigarettes in separate operations in Manila and Cebu. At a palace briefing, Palace Press Officer Claire Castro said the two agencies have also intercepted 34.5 million pesos worth of smuggled agricultural products from China and the Netherlands.
Makakaasa ang taumbayan sa mas pinaigting na interagency cooperation ng BOC at NBI upang ipatupad ang sa ating mga bayan at lugar ang batas at protektahan ang interes ng bansa laban sa mga illegal na gawain.
Castro said BOC Commissioner Ariel Nepomuceno and NBI Director Melvin Matibag recognized personnel involved in successful anti-smuggling operations. The NBI also reaffirmed its support for joint operations against smugglers and prohibited trade. The government says the stronger coordination is part of its broader campaign to enforce trade laws, protect government revenues, and safeguard the national interests against illegal activities.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Bureau of Customs or BOC Port of Clark has seized around 6.29 million pesos worth of suspected shabu concealed in a shipment declared as water pressure equipment. The shipment came from the United States and was bound for Taytay, Rizal. The BOC said suspicious images were detected during X-ray inspection, prompting a physical examination. A K-9 unit from the Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency also indicated the possible presence of illegal drugs. Authorities subsequently found 925 grams of suspected shabu inside a transparent plastic bag wrapped in duct tape. Customs Commissioner Ariel Nepomuceno said the operation highlights the importance of combining X-ray technology with the vigilance and expertise of customs personnel. A warrant of seizure and detention was issued against the shipment for violations of the Customs Modernization and Tariff Act and the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Land Transportation Office or LTO will begin a nationwide crackdown on fake and improvised license plates starting September 1. LTO Chief Assistant Secretary Marcus Lacanilao said vehicles without authorization to use improvised plates will be impounded, while counterfeit plates will be confiscated even if the motorists have authorization. The LTO has observed a rise in online sales of improvised plates that closely copy official government plates, including their QR codes. Lacanilao reminded motorists who lost their plates to first secure LTO authorization. Any authorized improvised plate must clearly bear the words lost plate or improvised plate. The LTO is also coordinating with law enforcement and cybersecurity agencies to go after online sellers of fake plates and conduction stickers. Lacanilao said the crackdown aims to prevent motorists from using counterfeit plates to evade traffic enforcement and other government monitoring systems.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Office of the Ombudsman has ordered the 6-month preventive suspension without pay of former Land Transportation Office or LTO Chiefs Vigor Mendoza II and Chofilo Guadis III over the continued use of the agency's old information technology system operated by Stradcom. Ombudsman Jesus Crispin Remulla said the suspension is immediately executory and will remain in effect for 6 months or while the administrative case is pending. The Ombudsman cited strong evidence in the administrative charges for grave misconduct and conduct prejudicial to the best interests of the service. The continued parallel use of the old LTO system and the newer Land Transport Management System or LTMS reportedly resulted in 13.3 billion pesos in additional computer fees charged to the public from 2019 to 2025. The Commission on Audit had flagged the arrangement, saying it prevented the full benefits of the LTMS from being realized. Mendoza, now LTFRB chairperson, said he respects the Ombudsman's decision and will present evidence-backed legal arguments to defend his actions and clear his name.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Department of Justice or DOJ has confirmed the filing of criminal charges for sexual assault and acts of lasciviousness against Marikina Representative Marcelino Marci Teodoro. DOJ spokesperson Polo Martinez said prosecutors filed 4 counts of sexual assault before the regional trial court and 1 count of acts of lasciviousness before the Metropolitan Trial Court in Marikina. The complaints were filed by 2 female police officers who were assigned as security personnel. The cases have been transmitted to the courts and will proceed under the rules of court. One of the complainants had earlier filed a complaint in 2025 over alleged acts of lasciviousness, while the second accused Teodoro of sexual assault and acts of lasciviousness. Teodoro has denied the allegations.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine National Police or PNP has commended an off-duty police officer for helping apprehend an alleged hit-and-run suspect in Antipolo City. PNP Chief General Jose Melencio Nartates Jr. praised Executive Master Sergeant Andy Evangelista for responding to the incident despite being off-duty. Evangelista pursued the suspect following a road crash on August 14. The suspect, reportedly an employee of the Land Transportation Office, Quezon City District Office, allegedly drove under the influence of alcohol, hit pedestrians, and fled the scene. Nartates said Evangelista's actions showed his commitment to public safety and his duty as a police officer. The PNP chief also welcomed National Police Commission Chair Rafael Vicente Calinisan's plan to consider a possible spot promotion for Evangelista. Nartates reminded police personnel to uphold public safety while observing established procedures and ensuring their own safety.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Philippine National Police or PNP has intensified efforts to prevent Filipinos from being recruited to participate in armed conflicts abroad. PNP Chief General Jose Melencio Nartates Jr. said the police are investigating reports of Filipinos being recruited for combat-related activities in foreign conflicts. The PNP is coordinating with the armed forces of the Philippines and the intelligence community to identify and shut down recruitment networks. The move follows reports that a Filipino was killed while fighting alongside Russian forces in the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Reports also indicated that at least 3 other Filipinos may have been recruited. Nartates said the effort is aimed at protecting Filipinos from illegal recruitment schemes that could endanger their lives. The PNP urged job seekers to carefully verify overseas employment offers, particularly those involving security or combat-related work, and report suspicious recruitment activities to authorities.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, says China is deploying more law enforcement vessels in the West Philippine Sea. AFP spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Rear Admiral Roy Vincent Trinidad, said the Philippine Navy monitored 77 China Coast Guard vessels during the first half of 2026, up from 68 during the same period last year. He said the increase indicates a stronger emphasis by China on law enforcement activities in Philippine maritime zones, which the AFP considers part of gray zone tactics. The AFP also monitored an increase in Chinese research and survey vessels from 33 to 44, with unusual movements recorded in several areas of interest. Meanwhile, sightings of Chinese Navy warships declined to 78 from 100, while China maritime militia vessels fell to 850 from 999. Trinidad said the AFP will continue monitoring developments and protecting the country's sovereignty, sovereign rights, and maritime interests.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, says the departure of the U.S. aircraft carrier USS George Washington from the Pacific will not affect planned military activities between the Philippines and the United States. AFP spokesperson for the West Philippine Sea, Rear Admiral Roy Vincent Trinidad, said the carrier's movement to the Middle East will not affect this year's activities under the Mutual Defense Board and Security Engagement Board. Trinidad said many of the planned activities have already been conducted and the defense commitment between Manila and Washington remains ironclad. He said the Philippines does not expect any slowdown in its military cooperation with the United States. Trinidad also stressed that the country's defense remains primarily the responsibility of the AFP, while allies and partners, including Australia, Japan, and New Zealand, continue to support regional security and international law. He added that the AFP does not speculate on possible changes in U.S. military deployments.
Dateline Malacañang.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, has intensified checkpoint operations and other security deployments following the ambush attempt against Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao Interim Chief Minister Abdul Rauf Makakuwa in Maguindanao del Norte last August 15. AFP spokesperson Colonel Francel Margaret Padilla said security forces have expanded their operations to prevent similar incidents and maintain peace in the region. Padilla said the military does not expect the incident to affect the upcoming BARM parliamentary elections. She said the AFP is coordinating with the stakeholders to ensure the elections are conducted peacefully and orderly. The military also vowed to help ensure that Bangsamoro voters can freely exercise their right to choose their leaders.
Dateline Malacañang.
And that concludes today's edition of Dateline Malacañang. For Radyo Pilipinas World Service, I am Win Peñano. Good day.
From the Presidential Palace, Manila, Dateline Malacañang.